Get your rub on with a...
Hello, Addicted to the Q world. It's Brad and Brian. This podcast sponsored by King Louis Meat Apostle. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know who our guest is today. Mr. Darren Warth with Iowa Smokey D. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
So to start us off, what made you decide on the name Iowa Smokey D's?
Well, so years ago on the competition circuit, when we started back in 2003, we were the Smoking Clones. And so we were big Cyclone fans. We were the, big first in the Iowa State parking lot for every home game. That's really where our love from barbecue started. And when we got ready to open a catering company, we're like, Hawkeye fans are going to want to eat this too. So we got to change, our name. And Sherry's really good at finding names. So she come up with Smokey D's. I'm Big D, she's little S.
That's pretty cool.
And so we had Smokey D's barbecue, and then we went to sign it up at KCBS, and there was a little team out of South Carolina that already had that name. So we had to put the Iowas in front of it.
So what made you start competing back in 2003?
It started with deer sausage. I was trying to figure out how to do deer sausage in my backyard. Then I found the barbecue forum. I'm not sure how long you've been around, but if you remember the barbecue forum, that's before Facebook and Google and all that stuff. And I got on the barbecue forum and found competition barbecue. And as soon as we did that, we went to our first contest that we ever went to and looked at was the American Royal in 2002. And we were just instantly addicted. And from then on out, it was like, okay, we're doing this. We're all in. I'm an all-in 100% guy. And so we, started a team called the Smoking Clones, and off we went on the barbecue circuit.
That's really cool. So how many grand championships have you, last time I heard, I forgot what number it was, but it was pretty good.
Well, we've won 100 KCBS, so we're kind of stuck on 100 KCBS. We've also won 4 other ones. We've won some IBCA, we won Houston, a couple other different sanctioning bodies, FBA, won a couple FBAs. So probably 104 total, I'm guessing, but 100 KCBS championships.
I think you've been commonly referred to as the GOAT.
I'm not sure where I got that or if I'm deserving, but they can call me anything. Don't call me late for dinner.
That's right. I judged the American Royal the last time you won it back in 2018.
Did you give me 9s?
I'm sure I'm going to say yes because I don't know who I judged that name, but I'll give it a
yes. The funny thing about the American Royal is you really don't. If you win the American Royal, people would be crazy if they saw my score sheets every time we've won the American Royal. I got like first on one table, second on another table, third on another table. It's not about how you land and what you do. It's about hitting the right table.
Yep. Honestly, you don't even have to get a first place. You don't even have to get a top 10, and you can win.
Oh no. One of my most treasured memories is winning the Jack with a third place brisket and beating out 5 other teams with 3 top 5 calls.
It's consistency. Consistency on all 4 categories is the name of the game.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So, of the 3 majors you've won, which one's your favorite? The Royal, the Jack, or the Houston Livestock Show?
You know what? I'm not sure there's a favorite. Every one is special. So you got the American Royal. That was our first. It's pretty special. That was pretty exciting. When you win the Jack, just the press in front of you, because you got the international press, and it's just crazy the mayhem to win the Jack. Even though, the Jack doesn't necessarily have all the best teams there every year. You're going through a draw process and whatever, but it's still the Jack. It's still very special.
Yep.
And then Houston, I mean, you haven't done anything until you stood on a stage in front of 50,000 people, and a old boy from Iowa takes the Texas crown. That was
saying.
That was quite the experience.
You're not supposed to win that one. You're not from Texas.
Yeah, I know. My wife was sitting in the crowd, because they would only let one person on stage in Houston. And so she's sitting in the crowd and she's next to this gal, and I get a call and the gal goes, Iowa? What do they know about barbecue in Iowa? And then we win it. And she's like, evidently we know that's my husband. It was kind of fun.
So that's IBCA. So that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it's not
setup.
even IBCA sanctioned. It's kind of their own sanctioning, but very similar to IBCA. You're cooking half chickens, ribs, and brisket.
But the scoring system on that's completely different, right?
Yeah. I don't even. If you want me to explain it, I couldn't even explain it. And when we won it, it's different now. When we won it, it was you turned in a category. You turned in. Luckily, we were able to turn in all three categories. Most teams, for every spot you had, you got to cook one category. So if you had one spot, you cooked chicken. If you had two spots, you got to cook chicken and ribs or whatever you wanted. Being on Champions Corner, qualifying through the Royal and the Jack, you got a chance to, cook all three categories together. So only on Champions Corner did we get to cook all three. And normally you go through this first round, you turn it in, and then you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait 2 hours, 3 hours. You turn in at noon and 1 o'clock, and then finally at 4 o'clock, they walk up and they're going, okay, you finaled in ribs. Okay, let's turn in your final ribs. And you had another batch of stuff that you either held or cooked fresh. But the beautiful thing is you can only cook 2 racks of ribs. You can cook 2 chickens, 2 half chickens, 2 racks of ribs, 2 briskets. So we were cooking 1 rack of ribs to turn in, and 1 rack of ribs we were cooking for finals.
Oh, they actually say how many you can cook.
Oh yeah, they tag the meat. They come around. It's pretty serious stuff. So they tag it and put these metal shipping tags through it, and then they're in your trailer when you're turning in, because you can't like cut a slice of brisket and then sauce it. Now, if some happens to be kind of laying on the cutting board, then you can kind of get away with it, but you really can't do anything afterwards. So you just cut it, turn it into a box, and off you go.
Huh. That is definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun, different challenge.
So, do you get invited back every year if you win it, or how does that work?
Well, if you get in, so Champions Corner is the winner of the Jack, the winner of the American Royal, the winner of the San Antonio Cook-Off. I think it's the winner of the Austin Cook-Off and the winner of Houston Rodeo. So you got, I think those 5 teams, or maybe one more in there, they get invited back. So we cooked it for 5 years, because we had won the Royal, and then we won the Royal, and then we won the Jack, and we had won Houston. We'd won the Royal 2 more times. So we kept getting invited back on Champions Corner. So, our first time ever, we got second in chicken and second overall. And then the next year we actually won ribs and won the overall in ribs.
So here's kind of a different question. The Open, for some reason of the world, you get a lot more autos and a lot more things than the Invitational. I wonder why that is.
I've been trying to get that changed for years. It's like, because, if you're winning if you're in the Invitational, everybody's there. Now the Open, face it, in competition barbecue, you got to be lucky. There's just you got to cook good food, but you got to be lucky. I just think the Invitational is just the most underappreciated contest out there. So when I go to the American Royal, I've been doing it for years. I care less whether I turned in the Invitational. All my crap meat that I have goes to Saturday, because I'm worried about the big show. I want to cook the Open. I want to win the Open. Most people are like, no, you want to win the Invitational. I'm like, what do you win? You get invited back to the Invitational 5 years. If you're worth a crap, you're going to be back there anyway.
Yep. Because you don't get the auto draw to the Jack. You don't get Houston. No. You don't get any of that.
No, you don't get any of that stuff. It's crazy. And I've talked to Houston about that. I've talked to the Jack about it, saying, why aren't you taking this team? It's crazy.
Well, that's like Triple H. They won the Invitational last year and didn't get a draw for the Jack. So it's like they kind of got screwed out of the
Yeah.
going to the Jack after winning a world championship. I don't understand that.
Yep. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things. It's always been that way.
To me, one spot at the Jack is not going to hurt or harm anybody to add that.
No, you're exactly right.
So, what made you? Did you start the restaurant before or after the competition barbecue got started?
Started first. We started that back in 2003. So I was a corporate VP of logistics, and so I traveled 50% of the time. I mean, barbecue was my stress reliever. Yep. I had 100 different employees in 10 different locations around the country, and very high stress job, transportation, just in time inventory management, just everything about transportation. So barbecue was my way to just sit next to the fire and relax. And it was my relaxation. But we became really good at it for some reason. I don't know why. We just studied it. We studied it. We practiced. We did all that stuff. And we became successful. And when we became successful, people started asking for our food. So they, hey, will you cater my wedding? Hey, will you cater my work? Whatever. So Sherry and I in 2006 decided, if we're going to do this, we're going to be legal about it. So we went and built a trailer. We built a 34-foot trailer. We parked it in our driveway, and we started catering. And I was gone 50% of the time. So I was cooking meat at nights, weekends, whatever. And she was kind of running the catering business, even though she had a full-time job. And after about a year, we said, we just can't do this anymore. Back then we were competing a lot, which was 25 times back then. That was a lot.
Yeah.
And that was still our love. And so it came to the point you're either giving up competition barbecue or you're giving up the catering business. And we decided to kind of partner up and partnered with another couple that could run the daily operation of the catering business. And that went okay. We opened at the last minute, found a little location, just a crap hole building down the street from our house. And, we're like, hey, we're going to open a catering business, but let's just do a little carry out on the front. Maybe somebody wants to eat some barbecue and give people a way to taste our barbecue. So we opened it up day one, and it was just like lines out the door, instant success. And we had the lobby full of trophies, and it helped. And we went 3 years. We opened up that location. The next year we opened another location, another downtown, and then we opened one 6 blocks away from each other downtown, and it just went crazy. The life was good, and we were still competing 25 times on the circuit. And then in 2010, we decided, let's move down the street, to a 500 seat location on Interstate 80. So literally in one day, we went from a carryout operation to a 500 seat operation.
Wow.
And you talk about some sleepless nights. Crazy. It was crazy. But we built, and we started to grow. And then in 2013, I went and set up my trailer at the American Royal, and I had to come back because we shot diners, drive-ins, and dives. So I went down on Tuesday. I set up the trailer at the Royal, came back. I filmed diners, drive-ins, and dives Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning. Went back to the Royal and won the American Royal that Sunday.
That's a hell of a weekend.
Oh man.
Nice.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. And you talk about business, holy criminally. You own any type of business. You get on diners, drive-ins, and dives, you made it.
I have yet to find that episode. I keep looking and keep looking and keep looking, and I cannot find that episode.
It's called, if you just Google fresh fish and funky chicken,
Okay.
Fresh fish and funky chicken, it'll come right up. You can watch it on Google, YouTube, whatever.
Okay.
It's out there, and they've been there a couple times. The other one doesn't get played as much. They come back a second time and kind of featured our food truck and some of the items there, which they don't feature that one much. But the original one, it probably replays 8 to 10 times a year, and people 8 to 10 times. You can tell as soon as it's played first, everybody goes, "Hey, you're on TV. You're on TV." Yeah, I know. Okay, whatever. And then the next day, the apple dumpling, we featured our apple dumplings and featured our Asian glazed wings. The first orders out of the day. always Asian glaze, Asian glaze, Asian glaze, Asian apple dumpling, apple dumpling. It's just crazy. And we're right on Interstate 80, so we're a destination.
Yep.
But people that are traveling, they see it and go, oh, hey, we're going to be there tomorrow. Boom, stop, go.
Well, that's crazy. I think that's every barbecuer's dream. So I have to ask you a question. What would you do if you did what QU did this year and back-to-back won the Royal?
I'd probably open up a bottle of bourbon and have a good drink with some buddies and whatever. I mean, I'm pretty humble guy. And I know him really well. And he's just a humble guy. He's just, he doesn't want to be famous. He really doesn't want to, Grant's just a salt of the earth guy. And you know what? He's a chef, and he's one of the only chefs that I've ever seen that really, he plays to the judges. He doesn't try to get fancy. He's just a great cook, and we cook a lot against him just because of where we cook in Illinois and Wisconsin and whatever. We see Grant a lot. I mean, just a salt of the earth guy.
Are you coming to Mayetta this year for the KCBS World Invitational?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I was thinking about putting a third air conditioner on my trailer, August in Kansas, but
yes.
Yeah, we're planning on it. I just see the signups come up. I'm kind of lazy anymore. I don't really have I shouldn't say I don't have the desire. I'm not sure I have the energy to do what we used to do. I mean, at one point we were cooking 40, 42 contests a year. And when you're doing that, it's easy. It's super easy. If you're cooking 42 times, it's just like automatic. It's like waking up in the morning, right? I mean, it was just, and I knew that, it was just the consistency. I knew I could get Grand Reserve 1 out of every 3 times. It just instantly. Well, now you back off that schedule and you start cooking less, it's harder to be consistent, so, and that's a little bit of a problem. So, because if I can't be really good at something, then I'm not interested in doing it.
Yep. So there's something. Oh, you have one of the best. I think were you on Tailgate Guys when you said this, but it makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to kind of preach to the people that are just getting started to watching. You said a quote that I love is you can take a class and copy the exact recipes, but if you can't be consistent and know how to adjust your timeline or adjust your cook on the fly, that is part of what makes good cooks good. Is if something happens, you can't wrap your ribs right at 9:30. You have to wait till 10. How to adjust it, how to get back on track. That's what everybody can go to a class, but you can't teach learning those kind of skills.
Oh yeah, I love, my favorite times is when crap goes wrong, right? Last contest I was at, all of a sudden I normally been trying to cook chicken on the pellet cooker, and the pellet cooker screwed up. And I guess I'm back to cooking jumbo chicken, and you just cook it. But most people would ruin their day, right? And I'm a pretty positive guy. So when I told this story on our podcast, but when I walk in the restaurant every morning I'm there. If I walk in the restaurant, I expect 3 things to be broke, right? Walk in that back door and I'm going, which 3 things are broke? And you know what? When only 2 things are broke, what a great day. Now, unfortunately, this week we've had a couple 4 and 5 days, but it's just when things happen, I'm all about the challenge. It's all about overcoming adversity to me. I mean, it's just whether it's you lose your fire or just anything. I just love that challenge associated with crap going wrong. I want to find a solution.
I always tell people at work or at home, you can laugh or you can cry. I mean, you just got to learn to roll with the punches.
Yeah, they ain't going to take away your birthday, are they?
No. So what do you think as far as consistency in barbecue? Is it nailing tenderness? Is it nailing flavor profiles week in, week out?
I hate that word. Flavor profile. I just tell you a funny story. Talk about flavor profiles, right? Everybody gets so excited about, I use this rub and whatever. And my funny story to them is, well, do you know that Smoking Guns Hot, Cimarron Docks, and Head Country were like the 3 basic rubs in 2003. Use those 3. As a matter of fact, my first 27 Grand Championships, I ran Smoking Guns Hot on all 4 meats and Blues Hog right out of the bottle. First 27 championships. So when I went to Osage City this past time, I was cooking by myself. And anytime I'm cooking by myself, I can do whatever I want because Sherry's not going, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? So I did. So I'm like, I'm going back to basics. So I cooked Smoking Guns Hot and Cimarron Docks, all 4 categories. I used Blues Hog and Head Country, 2 calls, 4th overall in 100 and some team field. And so I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to see that because every rub that I taste, oh yeah, great rub. Tastes like Smoking Guns Hot. Hey, great rub. Tastes like Cimarron Docks. Hey, it looks like smoking, those were the kind of the trinity, if you will. Those were the basis of all rubs. Now there's some different rubs out there. They're, BPS, they got jalapeno salt and stuff that were never around for added flavor. But, most of these rubs, I'm like, put whatever you want on it. I don't care. I mean, Kyle Johnson from T-Rex Barbecue, I'm not sure if you know Kyle, but Kyle was sitting in my trailer and I was going through this Smoking Guns Hot. He goes, you aren't doing that. And I said, grab the rub bottle, buddy. I'll even let you put it on if you want. And he's sitting there and goes, are you kidding me? Are you didn't just do that? Yeah, well, it's just rub. It's just meat. But I think tenderness is the king, okay? Because I think tenderness helps taste.
It does.
Appearance, some of the boxes I look at online, I think I'm probably better just to take my box up and give it a big old shake and turn it in, because contests aren't won on appearance. Contests are won on, they're actually won on tenderness. Even though taste is a big thing, I think tenderness is a big deal.
But I think you're absolutely right as far as tenderness affecting taste, because if you don't have the right tenderness and the right consistency of feel in your mouth when you're eating it, it affects your taste.
Oh, my thing, if I would joke with people on the circuit all the time, I say, give me salt, pepper, and ketchup, and I'll beat you in tenderness every time.
Yep.
And that's just the game. And sometimes it's hard to figure that out because, I'm always right now, every time I compete, I'm just playing around. I ain't got nothing left to win. Doesn't matter. I mean, Tuffy Stone told me, he said, Darren, if you and I never won another thing, we've won our plenty fair share. And I'm like, that's true. So now when I go out, I'm just like, I'm purposely like, last time I undercooked my ribs. I'm going to undercook my ribs on purpose so that they are almost like a pork chop consistency, right? I undercook them, I score in ribs. If I cook them where I think they're perfect, you get killed. It just doesn't, like I'm kind of undercooking everything now, except for brisket. I've always blown the crap out of brisket.
I'm still amazed they haven't started they haven't put you in the Hall of Fame yet. I'm not gonna lie. That's somebody.
They what?
Somebody commented on that. They said, "Can we go to the Hall of Fame already?"
I could care less. You know what the thing about Sherry, my wife, we get in arguments about this Hall of Fame thing, and I said I could give a rat's ass about the Hall of Fame. Well, you need to whatever. I said, you know what the Hall of Fame's going to do? It's going to ruin my American Royal. Because now I've got to go through all this pomp and circumstance. And I go to the American Royal to be with all my friends around the country.
And serve tenderloins.
I mean, that's what we do. And it's just going to drive me crazy. I mean, if it ever happens, and it doesn't matter. It really means, I mean, yeah, okay, I'd be grateful. And I got to pretend like I'm happy about it. Otherwise, my wife will shoot me. But being there, I mean, the Hall of Fame is, and there's a lot of great people in the Hall of Fame, a lot of great friends, but there's a lot of old time barbecuers there that, and they used to kind of do it based upon industry. And so they'd take one from industry, one from competition, and one from kind of a TV personality or whatever, a famous person. And now it's just wide open. Well, old restaurateurs, who do old restaurateurs vote for? more old restaurateurs. And I'm not saying there's not anybody deserving in that thing, but it's like people are constantly, oh, third time you didn't make the Hall of Fame. I don't care. Maybe I'm going for a record. Maybe I'll try and get 20 times without being in the Hall of Fame.
There's only one person that I wish that they would for sure put in there, and that's Bill Arnold.
I think everybody is exactly in accordance with that, and me too.
Mhm.
If I go in the Hall of Fame without Bill Arnold being in the Hall of Fame, I'm not sure I'm going in the Hall of Fame. Or
I just don't understand.
Or if I do, my speech is going to be about Bill Arnold.
I just don't understand why he's not, to be honest with you.
Old restaurateurs vote for old restaurateurs.
I guess so. So here's we're gonna switch gears here, and you said this might be a 2-hour answer. If you could change one thing about competition barbecue, KCBS, and to keep its future and sustainability, what would it be?
Just one thing?
Well, as many as
we're going to go. Okay, so KCBS.
Yeah.
First of all, I've never met a bad judge. Okay, and I've never ever blamed a judge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can tell to anybody around me. You can ask Sherry. I've never once blamed a judge because I don't think judging is screwed up. I think the system is screwed up. And so I see this. And I'm kind of a big picture guy. And when I look at it big picture, when I started in 2003, there was a system in place that everything started with a 9. And then you only scored down if there was a reason to score down.
Mm-hmm.
And then that moved on. And I don't know the dates, but I don't know if it was 2009, 2010, sometime in the future. Then I was at a contest in Omaha, Nebraska. There was 15 180s that day. And it kind of was the tipping point where they said, okay, we got to change something. So then they changed the judging system to say, okay, we're going to start with a 7 and we're going to go on up to an 8 or 9 or down to a 5 or 6. But, we're going to give you a point to start to bring the scores down so we didn't have so many 180s. And then further on in the future, they said, okay, we're not going to tell you where to start. We're just going to give you some numbers about what they mean and have you mark down on a paper.
Yep.
So anybody that understands quality and consistency and quality management, which I've been expertly trained for years and years and years, you have 3 different systems that are running in the same tent. So the guy that's giving you a 9 and the guy that's giving you a 7, they're actually saying the same thing. So the only way, in my opinion, the only way this is ever going to work is if you blow out the system, you start with a brand new system that gets trained every day in the judging tent. It has nothing to do with the 7, 8, and 9, a 180 or 700. You got to totally blow this thing apart. I'm not sure if appearance is anywhere from 10, 20, 30, or if taste is, 100, 200, 300. It doesn't matter what the system is, but you got to get everybody on the same system. And once you get everybody on the same system and you put them in the judging tent and everybody hears the same message, because, I took judging class, Mike Lake, years ago, 2003, 2004. If I go take a judging class today, I'm going to hear totally different things.
Yep.
And so you've got multiple reps, no fault of their own, no fault of anybody's, teaching kind of the same thing, but really teaching, they all have their own nuances. And I've cooked for a couple judging classes, and they're like, yeah, we just want you to turn in some food, just whatever, just bring the stuff from the restaurant. I'm like, are you kidding me? And they're going, well, yeah, we just want a variety, just no big deal. I'm like, no, so that's the frustrating part of the judging, but I understand, Rod Gray is a great friend of mine. And, we have these conversations. And the thing is, you look at, from a judging standpoint, that's their revenue base. There's a lot more judges that belong to KCBS than cooks.
Oh, by far, yes.
Because when they charge a judging class, instantly those people are going to be members and they're going to get their $35 and whatever. So I understand what happens, but I also understand there's 3 systems running in the tent, and I will go to my grave knowing that, hey, 3 different systems, you cannot run 3 different systems together and expect to be successful.
Mm.
The other things is it's too damn expensive. Okay, it's too damn expensive. I mean, I'm sponsored by Snake River Farms. I love the shit out of vanilla and that entire company. But I can't put a 200, luckily I don't pay for them, but I can't put a $250 brisket and expect somebody that just does this part-time and fancy pork and all that. I just look at this stuff and I'm like, guys, I mean, I'm walking through the restaurant, I'm a big Smithfield guy, and I have a chance to go to the plant if I want to pick my meat out. But the meat in a plant moves so fast, it's almost impossible. But instead, I can go to my little grocery store and I can pick through cases and cases and find exactly what I want. I mean, I'm even walking through my restaurant last night and they're loading the smokers. And I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on. So, I mean, they're loading hundreds of pounds of meat. I mean, we are filling 3 750-pound smokers to smoke overnight. And I'm looking at these pork butts going, oh, yeah, that's a Duroc one. Oh, that's a Duroc one. Because people don't realize it's not necessarily what's on the label. It's what the meat is. Because if I always joke around, like with Jim Compart and whatever, 70% of his production gets sold off. So I might buy that under the Tyson label. I might buy that under the Smithfield label. I might buy it under the IBP because they got to sell it. It's not like they just go, oh, there's so many competition cooks if we don't sell anything. What do you do in the wintertime when there's no competitions? So they have to sell off that production. Guess where that same meat goes? It goes to the grocery store. It goes to my restaurant. It goes to whatever. So it's not about whose label's on it. That's the marketing part. It's about, it's about what the quality of the meat is and being able to see what quality meat is, and the pH level in a pork and the marbling in a brisket. And I think that's where a lot of guys falter because they get so stuck on the brand. And I look at them going, these are dog shit. Because every brand has dog shit and has really good stuff. Every brand does.
Yep.
But everybody they think about the label. They don't think about the meat. Think about the meat.
That's exactly right. And that's, I think, part of the issue too. Like you said, cost. I mean, a lot of people do it as fun, and it's hard to spend $1,000, $1,500 at a contest.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the other thing that I've spent a lot of time thinking about is the backyarders, and I hate calling them backyarders, but the backyard teams. So in the backyard teams, I see us 20 years ago. This is our 20th year on the circuit. I see the backyard teams. They still got that fire in their belly, and they're cooking barbecue every night and whatever. And I see, but it's like, how do we change it so that we make them part of the whole thing? So I've got this idea of, and I hate the word backyard. So let's take the A series and the B series.
Yes.
Or let's play it's the NASCAR and the Winston Cup, whatever. Who cares? Whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But you have these series. And so we come together. And if you're cooking chicken and ribs, let's say you're cooking by yourself this weekend and you normally have a team, but you can only cook by yourself and you want to show up on Saturday morning, cook chicken and ribs. That's fine. Let's cook your chicken and ribs right next and judge it right next to my chicken and ribs.
Yep.
And then when it comes to the scoring system, let's score it through. You may not get a top 10 call, or you might get a top 10 call, which is going to make you really excited. But even if you don't get a top 10 call, let's call the top 10. Even though the person may have got 50th, we don't have to tell them that. But you could say, hey, fifth place overall, or fifth place in chicken is addicted to Q. And they're also first place in the series A or whatever. And so you combine them together so that they can move in and out, because it's all about getting your name called. I mean, that's what this is about. It's all about the recognition. So, and then certain times, now it's a teaching thing. So let's say you're cooking chicken and ribs, and all of a sudden now I'm gonna continue on Pro Series and cook pork and brisket. You want to come to my trailer and show you how I do my pork? Because then next week you might want to cook pork. Or when you get all your buddies together, now all of a sudden I can afford the bigger entry fee. Yep. We're going to cook all 4 categories, or we might just cook 2 or 1. And so you keep everybody involved. You quit separating them. You bring them all together, because if you bring them all together, you kind of gain that sense of, hey, I just got to call. I mean, all you got to do is invite Johnny Trigg. He's probably going to get 60th in ribs. But then if you get 59th, I beat Johnny Trigg in ribs. Right? So now all of a sudden there's this big sense of accomplishment. And I think that's important.
Like me and Brian, we cook KCBS backyard. That's what we cook. It's kind of what we do. But you don't know how many contests. It's like we'll throw the backyard guys over on their own section, on their own set of property, whatever. And then the Masters here, it's almost like, hey, those guys can go by themselves, and we'll cook the Masters over here. And
put everybody together. That's how you grow, because you have so many judges. Personally, I couldn't make it through a judging tent. I can't stand. I love chicken. If I'm by myself, I feel my way through the ribs, and there is no way I'm putting a piece of pork or brisket in my mouth. I just don't want any part of it. Yep. So think about it from a judging standpoint. Now, all of a sudden, you got this huge amount of judges. So you got, let's say I just heard Minnesota in May, we're going to in a couple of weeks here. They got 60 master teams and 40 backyard and a waiting list on the backyard. That's 100 teams. So now we start out with 100 judges. And now after 2 categories, we take another let's throw another half hour in there. So we do, chicken at 12, ribs at 12:30. Let's do pork at 1:30. So now all of a sudden we can reset the table and we can go, hey, who wants to go home? Who wants to go home after chicken and ribs? Or we'll start drawing for pork and brisket.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden, hey, if I want to judge, I'm not sure how anybody judges, because it's like so much food. Well, if I could judge and just do chicken and ribs, I could probably do it. And a lot of people would do that. So I think it's just those type of things. We got to be creative. We got to figure out, how to make it cheaper. We got to figure out how to bring the fire back in it. We got to get the judging. We got to figure out how do we get on one system versus 3. And I think it's going to take all 3 of those to become successful.
And that's another reason why I like backyard too. I feel like Friday night at the contest, you get a lot more, because people are cooking usually under canopies, less in trailers. You get a lot more intermingling.
Oh, I totally agree. I love contests like that. I love, when we did the King of the Smoker for years, that was, everybody was in the tent, no sides, you get 2 tables, here's your meat. That's really the true cook.
Yep.
To me, the problem you have, like the guinea pig out in California, Sterling did the guinea pig. It was amazing. I was able only to go to 2 of them, but it was an amazing adventure. The problem is you can't give somebody a really great biscuit and give somebody a really crappy brisket and expect them to compete. But if it was a draw, then it'd be interesting.
Now, that's one thing I do wish too. American Royal, they do their backyard contest in March. I really wish they would combine it with I realize there'd be a lot more teams to spread in the middle of the Kansas Speedway, but I feel like it'd be a lot more fun for barbecue to be able to have the backyard teams intermingle. And they might cook the open on Sunday and cook the backyard open and backyard invitational the same way they do for the American Royal.
Are we supposed to move outside, Brian?
No. I think so.
No. The wife got home, her Wi-Fi came on, so I was like, yeah, you're jacking me up.
I told mine, I'm like, hey, I'm doing a podcast at 3:00. You're not allowed home.
But no, I've said that every time, which I love, because they do the backyard in the old Kemper, so I still love that setup.
Yeah.
But I would much rather wish they would move it to the fall with the regular American Royal and just have one big contest.
Yeah, it's Kemper's special. Nothing like getting your and I know that's they're trying to get that for the KCBS Invitational. That's ultimately where they would like to land.
I would love to have it there.
It's an amazing, so many memories, and I coined the term "getting your feet dirty" a long time ago. You go into the weekend and like, what's your goal this weekend? Just want to get my feet dirty. What are you talking about? That stage, in order to get from that stands to that stage, you got to get your feet dirty.
Yep.
Don't let the bridge fall on you.
Yeah. So it's fun. Lots of fun.
I do agree 100% with all those points. And even I don't even think judges know how to score half the time.
Yeah, it's it's like burn ends, right? And people always have their, they're talking about burn ends. I'm not turning burn ends. Judges don't know how to score them. And I said, you want to hear a little secret? I said, I got more brisket wins than anybody else in the country. If you look up the stats and add smoking clones, I have one brisket more than anybody. Do you know, up until about 2 years ago, I turned in burn ends in every single box I've ever turned in, and I never tasted them.
Really?
I just cut them and put them in the box. Just cut them and put them in the box. And so everybody overthinks this stuff. Quit overthinking it. Just put what's good in the box. I mean, if I've got only 6 good ribs, guess what? You're getting 6 ribs. If I've only got 6 slices of money muscle and everything else sucks, guess what? You're getting 6 slices. It doesn't matter how horrible and how empty it looks. You're only getting what's good.
Mm-hmm.
I've done my best ribs with just putting 6 in the box, but they can't judge you what's not in there.
Well, that's exactly right. So everybody gets tied. I'm not a big person of putting a lot of pork in the box. People put in 3-4 different cuts of pork. I'm like, yeah, but now you're playing against yourself. It's like, oh, the money muscle was great, but your pulled was mushy. Okay, I'd give you a 9 and a 7, so I'm going to average you and give you an 8.
Yep.
Or if you just would have put the good stuff, you would have got a 9.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that a lot of times when I've opened that box. I'm like, man, if they would have just put that one thing in there, they'd have done better than if they wouldn't have put too much in.
Yep. Yeah, competition barbecue. It's a weird monster. It's gotten so expensive, and for us, it's a lot of work. And when you do it every week, it's easy. But boy, when you go 3 or 4 weeks without competing, man, that's a lot of work to get ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not getting any younger, and I said this last week or when I was competing the last time. I said, boy, this shit's gotten heavy. I mean, whether it's charcoal, whether it's wood, it's just heavy. It never used to seem heavy, but it's heavy. It's all you do is lift.
I told that to my wife that after the last turn-in box at the Royal in March. I said, competition barbecue stupid. Yet we somehow keep doing it.
Well, it's the camaraderie. It's the hanging out with friends. It's the tailgate on Friday night. But it's really the anticipation of the call, right? It's getting your name called. That's why I like being called Iowa Smokey D's versus Smokey D's, because if you're Smokey D's, you're there. And I hate when organizers. That's number one pet peeve in barbecue. Don't pull 10 people to the stage and start. Don't pull 10 people to the stage and start dismissing them. I see that a lot in Florida. If I find out a contest do it, I'm not going, because everybody, you still have a chance. So I go through the scenario. I'm sitting in chicken, and they call 10th place. I don't get a call. Well, that's okay, because I got a chance at 9th, and I got a chance at 8th. And even when I get to first place and I don't get a call, I might be pissed because I didn't get a call. And 10th place of ribs, and now I'm back into a positive mode. And so I go that way all the way through awards.
Yep.
But when you take a whole group of people and take them to a stage, everybody that didn't get calls to the stage, they're sitting back pissed off. Yep. And when I'm on stage, I'm going, don't call my name. Don't call my name. Don't call my name. So it's that whole anticipation that keeps it exciting.
Yes, because immediately you didn't even call. If you get one call, immediately you're done. You don't have the hope for 9th, 8th, whatever.
Right. So I got to sit through all this crap, and I'm pissed off. Whereas with my scenario in a normal thing, I still, even though I could have had the worst cook in the world, I still could get first in ribs.
Yep.
And I know that. So it's like people are just the anticipation's there. And when you're let down that you don't get a top 10 call, don't worry. Next category is coming right up.
Yep.
That's very
true.
Just little things from an organizer thing that, as I overanalyze probably the sport of competition barbecue.
I always say it's the way the fat people can still play a sport.
It is, and they don't understand. It is a sport.
Yes, it is. Well, Brian, do you have anything else before we let him go and get back to his busy restaurant?
Yeah, one question, and for both of you, because you're judges. If I did all medallions, money muscle, in my box, but I made it look like a happy face. Would that give me extra bonus points?
Well, I'd DQ you first, but
yeah, you get disqualified for marking the box, but
and that's why I'm not a barbecue judge, because I'm telling you, I could not put a piece of pork in my mouth. I could not put a piece of bread. I might be able to the first contest of the year, but man,
I
but
used
then
to love it. But the last couple contests I've judged, as soon as pork comes out, I dread it.
that's
for me. It's got no flavor. No matter how much they put in it, it's just bland and it just tastes like pork. I mean,
well. And the interesting thing about it is, and I want you judging my stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's why I think breaking it up and just having some people do chicken and ribs would help that scenario.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now brisket, give me all the brisket you can give me. I don't know why. I think honestly it's because I've cooked so much pork here lately that I've burned myself out of it.
I don't think I've done a practice cook in I'm guessing 15 years.
That's what somebody else said. They just do the next cook.
That's why I go to contests, so I can practice. I'm not wasting you think I want to make a mess at home? And do you think you can practice cook at a restaurant? No chance. I'm not a practice guy, and that's probably part of the reason why I don't score as well as I used to. Because first, I don't study the game. I look at some of these guys that are studying the game intensely and doing well. And if you got your finger on the pulse, that's definitely going to play into your favor. I'm like, can you just give me the recipe and how much cooking? I'm not scared to do anything in competition barbecue. I mean, I once turned in salt and pepper with no sauce on a brisket and got a 180 one day, and then I did the same thing the next day and hit 7th, and then I stopped doing it. And I'm not sure why, because it's the best brisket I can cook.
Pretty much true. Well, we're gonna team up 4 of us and cook the KCBS invitation or the open side of the Invitational Master Series. So we're gonna see how that's gonna go.
Well, let me give you a secret, because I've been cooking a lot. I cook with Luke Darnell down in Florida. I've cooked with Jeff from Shiggin and Grinnin. And the one thing I would tell you, don't let somebody cook chicken and somebody cook ribs and somebody cook pork, whatever. Bring all your recipes together. Okay. Come up with a master plan. So if you cook, if you're a good chicken cook, then your chicken might look pretty much like yours. But if we get to ribs and we can't make up our mind on what rubs to put on or what sauces, then put them both on. Right. And so that's what we've done. Teddy Camp, we call them Teddy Camp because that's where we go in the summer and go to a lake and hang out and a bunch of teams. Yep. But whenever we cook Teddy Camp, we have a Teddy Camp meeting and we say, hey, what are we going to do here? Whatever. And we document every single thing we're going to do from a recipe standpoint, and we don't deviate. We're going to do this. We're going to fit, because that way at the end of the day, if 3 of the guys are cooking chicken ribs and pork and the guy that's cooking brisket falters, you're going to be looking at him going, hey, dumbass, you cost us the contest, right? But if it's everybody cooking together, you'll never have that. A lot more fun.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
It is a really good idea.
The black sheep are going to do something.
The black sheep of barbecue.
So who are you teaming up with? I might want to join.
It's me, Brian, and a couple of the team's Brian sponsors that we're good friends with. We had a block party at the American Royal Backyard. There was like 4 of us, and we were just all next to each other in tents and hanging out. So the old style of how barbecue used to be.
Yeah. I love that. I love the old style.
I kind of wish KCBS would go back to its roots sometimes, but
well, it's hard, but there's got to be a mixture. I don't know how, and I drag a 40-foot trailer around by myself, but I don't know how people are affording this. I just don't get it, because you know what? I mean, fact of the matter is, I could go around. There's probably 10 people in the country making money in competition barbecue. Now, I did that for 10 years. I mean, our best year ever, we won $159,000 in prize money.
Dang.
Nice.
Yeah. But, you win a 50,000 contest here in Sam's Club, and you win, 25 here and 25 here. Those are all gone. Those contests are all gone. So, I mean, the rest of the years we were able to, make a little bit of money. You could win 50, 60,000. I'm not sure, there's probably maybe even 3 guys that are making money out there now.
Oh yeah, it's an expensive sport.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, Brian, do you have anything else before I let him go?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey,
thank you.
Yeah. And for
Thank
everybody,
you for letting us talk barbecue.
Well, and if you want to hear more barbecue, we just launched our new podcast.
Yes, talk about that podcast.
Just launched, called Cue the Mic. QUE the MIC. Cue the Mic. Cue the Mic on TikTok and all. It's on all the podcasts. It's Cue the Mic podcast on Instagram. It's really the trials and tribulations of a barbecue cook, restaurant owner. I've got Emma. It's with Emma, who's my social media gal, digital marketing manager. Her and I going back and forth. We disagree on a lot of things. There's a pretty big age gap there. And I make fun of that. She asks me when I'm cooking and I ask her what she door dashes. And so we try and talk about competition barbecue, but we really talk about just recipes and cooking and really the restaurant business. Because a lot of people are interested in the restaurant business. And if I was going to cater a party, that type of stuff, how much food do I serve? We try and hit on a lot of different things rather than just, it's pretty boring to talk about competition barbecue, but we fit that in and like we've talked about today, but we just launched it. We got our 2nd episode out, 3rd episode's recorded, and we're off and running.
Nice.
Well, I'm definitely going to tune into it whenever we get off here. So I get back to work.
Yep. Give you something to do.
Give me something to do. Put headphones in, ignore the rest of the office, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for coming on. And like I said, tune into his podcast. So.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
See ya.